Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Ball Cap Bible Study. Today, I'm rocking the Georgia Tech Hornet there, so we're going to get right into it. Again, for those of you that may be receiving this from a friend, my name is Wade Cruz. I'm the pastor for senior adults at Quail Springs Baptist Church. See, I'm in front of my green screen, which are the curtains in my office. Here in a couple of weeks, hopefully maybe 3 or 4 weeks, this will be changed out and you'll see some pretty plantation shutters that'll match the wood all around everything. So anyway, we'll keep going. We are in the Beatitudes. No, let me say that I said that wrong. We don't edit these, but we are in the Sermon on the Mount. We just finished the Beatitudes, which is how it opens up. And the Sermon on the Mount is interesting because it it's Jesus' first salvo. If you want to think about spiritual warfare and you remember, the tanks and stuff shooting in World War II, or the battleships, that's his first shot across the bow, is that Sermon on the Mount. He comes out firing, and he starts off with the Beatitudes, and he says, happiness for you spiritually is pretty much the opposite of what the world would say. Blessings and happiness come from being poor in spirit, from mourning, from meekness, from not getting revenge but showing mercy. I mean, all these things, and ultimately, when I say ultimately, I mean ultimately, because it goes from where you start down to more important. So it builds. Every beatitude builds upon itself, and it ultimately, it comes out in persecution. You're not going to be happy if you're not persecuted for the Lord. And when we say not happy, it doesn't mean we ought to be doing backflips because we're being persecuted, but we need to realize why we're being persecuted. And that's the whole thing. So the Sermon on the Mount, just in general, is about being different. It's about your motivation and your attitude, why we do things. And it's about, how we connect and react with the world. And we'll see some of that today. So we're through the Beat. Right after he talks about that, then he says, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its flavor, its savor, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by man. Now, you know that some of the uses of salt, when it gets icy, we use it for snow melt. We throw it around, right? Snow melt. Get the sidewalks walkable and that kind of thing, but trampled on. Also, maybe still today, but back in the day, because we don't use so much now because we don't want to mess up our wells and stuff, but they used it like for edging and for keeping the weeds out of the roads and stuff. They would, you throw that salt. I mean, you think weed killer. I don't know if you've ever know this, but weed killer has a lot of salts in it. So they would throw it out on the road, and it would get trampled down, and nothing would grow in it. So it would keep the roads, clean of weeds. They didn't have like the paved roads like we had. The Romans came along and had developed a form of concrete that, believe it or not, we lost the recipe to, and it had to get reinvented. That's a whole nother story. I'm chasing a rabbit. But anyway, your salt and your light. So think about this. What does salt do? Well, salt stings. I mean, it's not necessarily judgmental, but it's convicting. I mean, if you think in the spiritual world, you being salt, you should sting a wound just by your presence, not intentionally. You're not trying to like dig in there and get them, but if somebody has is marred by sin, our presence as salt is going to sting a little bit. We just looking at you should convict people. So we're gonna see something here in a minute that's like the opposite of what he says later, but it's the opposite for a different reason, and I'll explain that. We're called to be salt, so we should be. Salt is also a flavor enhancer, isn't it? It makes things tastes good, tastes better. You know, a lot of people put salt on their food. I'm kind of on a low sodium diet, so I don't do that so much. But sorry, the coffee steam kind of makes my nose run, but boy, it tastes good. Okay, so salt, you know, it's we know its uses when it's no longer useful, but it enhances flavor, it stings, it also purifies. They would use salt, you know, they would actually put salt in a wound, and you know, like an iodine or kind of whatever. Um, but it also um, makes you thirsty, doesn't it? It's, you know, popcorn really good, but boy, you need something to drink with it. That's why the theaters, you know, sell, you know, a little cup for about $12 and stuff. But salt, so salt's going to sting a wound. It's going to enhance flavor, but it's also going to preserve. You know, I mean, we know. I mean, they would pack fish in salt, or you know, hams or whatever. But you know, that's what we ought to be about doing, is preserving the faith and preserving, you know, our spiritual culture and way of life and what God would have us do. And we should be, you know, packing each other in salt, that love, that stuff that emanates from us. Okay. But it also says, after salt, he says, you are the light of the world. Think about that. You are the light. Now, Jesus is the light. I mean, we know that. Jesus, but we're to emulate him. We're to be Christ-like. So we should be little lights. And Revelation talks about Jesus walking among the lampstands. Well, the lampstands are the churches. You know, so you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Have you ever driven at night out on I-40, I-70, and you can tell when you're coming up on a town because you can see those lights out there, man. That's what, you know, that's the image, that's the picture. And here's the thing, you know, that oh, good, I'm going to be safe. Or, you know, that's your town. You're like, I'm going to be home. Nothing like coming home after a big long vacation. So just like the city on the hill can't be hidden, you know, because it's obvious where it is. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. You know, the little song, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." Hide it under a bushel. No. Um, instead they set it on a stand, on the lampstand. The lights. I've got a light right here in front of the on the top of my little laptop that kind of brightens us up. Um, it gives light to everyone in the house. They set it on a stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So you want your good deeds to be seen for God's glory, not yours, not mine. So this is about motivation. This is about being authentic, who we are. We have a little acronym we use in our senior adult ministry called AIM, AIM, stands for be authentic, be intentional, and be missional. So um, we do that. We try to emphasize that. I'm writing something down. I forgot an announcement. But anyway, AIM, authentic, intentional, and missional. Jesus is saying, authentically let your light shine, intentionally let your light shine, missionally let your light shine, so that it glorifies God. It's not about your glory. It's not about my glory. Later on, he speaks to that. There, you know, there's this juxtaposed position between what he's saying here, let your light shine before men, and not doing things to be noticed by men. He, you know, later he's going to talk about, don't pray so people can hear you. You know, when you fast, don't go around and say, oh, you know, I'd love to come to dinner with you, but I'm fasting and I can't do it. You know, you know, not letting your left hand know what your right hand is doing, that kind of thing. But it's about motivation. You know, every step we take, every word we say, every breath, it sounds like a song from the 70s. Anyway, like, was that the Police? But the point is, all those things are every step, every breath, every move, every word should honor God, and should be for his glory. So that is the deal on that. Salt and light. Now here's the kicker. Salt and light. We talked about that. So light, you know, makes things clear. You know, spiritual warfare is real. There's light and dark. And everybody I've spoken to says, yeah, this world's getting darker. I mean, it's not fun anymore. It's not pretty. It seems like we're always fighting evil and all that. Well, let me just say that's my fault and that's your fault if you're a Christian, because just like in the physical world, it doesn't get dark unless we remove the light. So somehow we've backed up, we've receded, we've allowed the dark to creep in, and we've got to, with grace and love, in a way that honors and glorifies God, we have to push back. We have to go to school board meetings. We have to, vote in a godly way. We have to participate as Christian citizens and make sure that God's will is getting applied. Kingdom work is getting done. So here's the thing about the light, not hiding under a bushel, and then we'll wrap up. You only hide something you're ashamed of. And, Paul said, I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it's the power of God unto salvation, first to the Jews and to the Greek. Jesus said, I'm not going to say this perfectly, but basically he said, you know what? If you're ashamed of me before men, I'm going to be ashamed of you before my Father. Ow, man, don't be ashamed. We need to be unashamed Christians who, do not offend people intentionally. Now, look, you're going to offend people. That's why the last beatitude is about being persecuted. If you're living this, if you're living as a salt and light, you're going to offend people because you're going to sting. You're gonna illuminate the hidden things that they don't want out there. But blessed are the persecuted. Now, here's where we wrap it up. We talked about salt making people thirsty. Well, our salt should make people thirst for what we have, right? God, the Lord, Jesus, a hope and a future, an eternity. So our salt should make them thirsty for what we have, and our light should shine on the well of living water. We should illuminate where they can get that thirst quenched. Does that make sense? All right. That's the devotion today. We're working through the Sermon on the Mount. Remember, it's about being different in the world. It's about your motivation, why we do things, and it's about your attitude, how we respond to the world and the way it treats us and that kind of thing, and what we should expect. Okay. So here are the announcements. If you're not Quail Springs and you don't care about these, you can kick off now if you want to, or you can sit and listen to me talk about some things coming up. So tomorrow, I know many of you won't get this video until after this is over, but just for those that see it, don't forget Leisure Live Wires with the Bowler Jacks. They are awesome. You'll want one of their CDs after their concert, I promise, or you'll want to download something to your phone or whatever. A week from tomorrow, on the 21st, Pray for the Nation. Oh, by the way, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Do something special if you can, or just love on somebody. So pray for the nation. And we just talked about how dark this world is. You can just see all this stuff. Just turn on the news. I can't even hardly watch it anymore, but pray for the nation in the parlor at 11 a.m. It's a pretty cool deal. And it's about 45 minutes long, and we have prayer points, and it's very well organized and put together. Nona and Jim Tillery and everybody, Joan Jakeway, Dorothy Schmidt, they all do a great job. Sharon Tillery, Jim's wife, Vel, Raybon, anyway, the leadership, I just named them all. They're really, really good. So come pray for the nation, and you'll enjoy the fellowship. There will be coffee and snacks and things. Oklahoma Glory Revival coming up in March, Sunday, March 19th through the 22nd. Those posters and cards and reminders and stuff should be all over the place now around the church and in your emails. So you want to be there every day. I mean, we have been having people demand and beg and ask, why haven't we had a revival? Well, church has heard you. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be top shelf folks and music. So come to that. All right. You've asked for it. We're going to do it. Trips are back. We're going to take a bus trip April 27th, and we're going to go down to Texas. It'll be a day trip. We'll leave pretty early, probably around 7. And it'll be all day. We won't get back till after 7, maybe 8 or 9 at the latest. I'd say 9 at the latest. We're shooting for 8, but we're going to go to Texas. And the first thing we're going to do, many of you over the years have given to Lottie Moon. Well, our denomination and some special people went back over to China, and they got her stuff, her personal possessions. They went to her, they brought her home, her house back. And it's a really neat thing. It's at the seminary where I got my master's in theology, and it's in a building called the Mathena Building. So you want to see that. It's really neat. Rachel and I went down there last summer on a little scouting trip, and it's worth going to, and just to see where Lottie Moon, the table she sat at, and the utensils, and the desk where she wrote her stuff, and it's her stuff. And I think somebody told me even like the tiles on her roof they brought back and put up. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but we'll do that. We'll start with that. Then we'll go to lunch somewhere. Then we will. This is the 60th anniversary this year of the JFK assassination. So they have a really, really cool museum if you've never been, at the School Book Depository. So we'll go there. That's the plan. I hope that doesn't change, but right now I think that's 90% lockdown that we'll do that. And it's self-paced. So, even if you're on a walker, or you're just not as fast as you used to be, no problem. And they've got benches and places to sit and things to do. And we'll spend, you spend a while there. So it's restful. And then after we do that, our tour company may have a little surprise for us, a special treat. Then on the way home, I demand, this is my call, we're stopping at Buc-ee's, boy. We're going to get some beef jerky and do a little shopping, and you're going to see the world's biggest what do you call it, convenience store, gas stop kind of thing. It's unreal, but Buc-ee's is fun, and they have good barbecue beef sandwiches and all sorts of snacks and that kind of thing. So lunch will be included in the price of the trip, but whatever you get at Buc-ee's and for your dinner, that'll be on us, on you. You will be responsible for your I will be responsible for my meal. You'll be responsible for your meal for dinner at Buc-ee's on the way home. And they have lots of stuff, and so it'll be good. If you've never been to Buc-ee's, it's a lot. I think it's a lot of fun, and restrooms are huge, man. You gotta go check out the restrooms. So that's the trip. And then something that we're doing weekly. I've mentioned this a few times before, but we've got great attendance. Last week we had 30 people there, but we're doing an early bird special Bible study for folks that want to come to dinner, but either are in choir and can't be involved in the Wednesday night midweek Bible stuff, or if you just don't drive at night in the dark as much, or you want to get home before 8 o'clock, that kind of thing, come at 4 o'clock upstairs in our lecture hall, and we're going through the Bible. We'll be on Leviticus this week. That'll be interesting, and we're seeing connectivity and where Jesus is all through the Bible, that kind of thing. It's a kind of that 30,000-foot view down onto the overall. We're looking at the forest, not the trees, kind of thing. So 4 o'clock, that's fun. We're having a good time there, and like I said, great attendance. So you can come be part of that. And that's announcements, and that's enough. Still keep going longer than I want to, but we have a lot to get in sometimes. So, all right, I love you all. That's Ball Cap Bible Study today, and be safe. And tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Come hear the Bowler Jacks at Leisure Livewires, and at least tell somebody you love them, because I love you. Bye.